মাধব জয় কুঞ্জ বিহারী। জয় রাধা মাধব জয় কুঞ্জ বিহারী। জয় গোপী জনবল্লভ জয় গিরিবর ধারী। জয় গিরিবর ধারী। জয় গোপী জন বল্লভ জয় গিরিবর ধারী। জয় গিরিবর ধারী। यशोदानंदन ब्रज जनरंजन। यशोदानंदन ब्रज जनरंजन। यशोदानंदन ब्रज जनरंजन। यशोदानंदन ब्रज जनरंजन। यमुना तीरावन चारे। यमुना तीरावन चारे। जय राधा माधव जय कुंज बिहारी। 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 हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे। हरे राम 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 हरे Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jayo Radha Krishna Chandra, Radha Krishna Chandra Radhe. Jayo Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga, Jayo Nitai Gauranga. Jayo Jayo Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शतश्री श्रीमद डिवाइन ग्रेस अब्बाई चरण भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शतश्री श्रीमद डिवाइन ग्रेस श्रील भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती ठाकुर गोस्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये नष्टप्रायेष्वभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd canto, 15th chapter, text number 47. Tam tvam vidhama bhagavan paramatma tattvam satvena sampratirhatim rachayantamesham yette anutapa viditai dridha bhakti yoge udgrantayoridi vidurmunayo viragaha tam tvam vidama bhagavan paramatma tattvam satvena sampratirhatim rachayantamesham yette anutapa viditai dridha bhakti yoge udgrantayoridi vidurmunayo viragaha tam tvam vidama bhagavan paramatma tattvam satvena sampratirhatam rachayantamesham yette anutapa viditai dridha bhakti yogai udgrantayoridi vidurmunayo viraga. Word to word meaning: tam, him; tvam, you; vidhama, we know; Bhagavan, O Supreme Personality of Godhead; Param, the Supreme; Atma Tattvam, Absolute Truth; Satvena, by your form of pure goodness, Samprati, now, Ratim, love of God, Rachayantam, creating, Yesham, of all of them, Yad, which, Te, your, Anutapa, mercy, Viditaihi, understood, Drida, unflinching, Bhakti Yogaihi, through devotional service, Udgrantayaha, without attachment, free from material bondage. Ridhi, in the heart, Viduhu, understood. Munayaha, great sages. Viragaha, not interested in material life. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation. We know that you are the Supreme Absolute Truth, the Personality of Godhead, who manifests His transcendental form in the uncontaminated mode of pure goodness. This transcendental eternal form of your personality can be understood only by your mercy, through unflinching devotional service, by great sages whose hearts have been purified in the devotional way. Please repeat the translation. We know that you are the Supreme Absolute Truth, the Personality of Godhead, who manifests His transcendental form in the uncontaminated mode of pure goodness. This transcendental eternal form of your personality can be understood only by your mercy, through unflinching devotional service, by great sages whose hearts have been purified in the devotional way. Purport. The absolute truth can be understood in three features: impersonal Brahman, localized Paramatma, and Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Here it is admitted that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the last word in understanding the absolute truth. Even though the four Kumaras were instructed by their great learned father Brahma, they could not actually understand the absolute truth. They could only understand the Supreme Absolute Truth when they personally saw the personality of Godhead with their own eyes. In other words, if one sees or understands the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the other two features of the Absolute Truth, namely impersonal Brahman and localized Paramatma, are also automatically understood. Therefore, the Kumaras confirm, you are the ultimate Absolute Truth. The impersonalist may argue that since the Supreme Personality of Godhead was so nicely decorated, He was therefore not the Absolute Truth. But here it is confirmed that all the variegatedness of the Absolute platform is constituted of Shuddha Sattva, pure goodness. In the material world, any quality, goodness, passion or ignorance is contaminated. Even the quality of goodness here in the material world is not free from the tinges of passion and ignorance. But in the transcendental world, only pure goodness without any tinge of passion or ignorance exists. Therefore, the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and His variegated pastimes and paraphernalia are all pure Sattva Guna. Such variegatedness in pure goodness is exhibited externally by the Lord for the satisfaction of the devotee. The devotee does not want to see the Supreme Personality of Absolute Truth in voidness or impersonalism. In one sense, absolute transcendental variegatedness is meant only for the devotees, not for others. Because this distinct feature of the transcendental variegatedness can be understood only by the mercy of the Supreme Lord and not by mental speculation or the ascending process, it is said that one can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead when one is even slightly favored by Him. Otherwise, without His mercy, A man may speculate for thousands of years and not understand what is actually the absolute truth. This mercy can be perceived by the devotee when he is completely freed from contamination. It is stated, therefore, that only when all contamination is rooted out and the devotee is completely detached from material attractions can he receive this mercy of the Lord. Thus ends the Bhakti Vedanta purport. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Namaha Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jayo Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Tam tvam vidhama bhagavan paramatma tattvam satvena sampratiratihm rachayantamesham yatte anutapa viditai dृढ़ bhakti yogai udkhantayo ridhi vidhur munayo viragaha. So the Kumaras, when they have darshan of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, their feelings, emotions, outpouring of all those are happening here. When you are overwhelmed with love, there is no reservation. We say that is Raganuga Bhakti. There is no inhibitions. Just like a child. A small child will have no inhibitions. Whatever it feels, whatever emotions it feels, it will immediately show. But as we grow bigger, we won't reveal all the feelings, we won't reveal all the emotions. Right? Because we are worried what the other person will behave, how he will take it as. So we calculate. Our behavior will be very measured. Depending on the situation, depending on the person we are there. With them we relate like that. Like somebody whom we don't know, we are very careful. Every word we say, every way in which we behave, we are very careful. Somebody we know little bit, to that little bit extent we know, we will relate to him. Somebody we know very well, we will relate much more freely. Like with our family, with our close friends, we relate very free. But even there, we don't reveal fully. Not 100%. Even with our husband, with our wife, with our mother, father, we do not behave so freely like that. Why? Because we are still worried. Supposing there are some deeply, sometimes when we meet somebody, not meet, when say our father is there, our mother is there, our wife is there, our husband is there, certain things are still confidential. Only in this world, only you know what you are thinking. Nobody else knows. There are material realities which are there. Certain material realities are there. But when we say highest platform of bhakti, That's a different dimension altogether. Completely different dimension. Like for example, in the material world, there is something in our mind we cannot reveal 100% because we are worried. What I am thinking is also may not be right. Right? Sometimes we all have our contaminations. Right? Contaminations means we are covered by modes of passion, modes of ignorance, which means passion and ignorance means what? Passion and ignorance means envy, jealousy, passion, lust, greed, anger. So supposing we behave fully, then the other person will know, oh, this fellow is so envious, this fellow is so lusty, this fellow is such a angry person. So we want to hide. We always want to present. We want to pretend that we don't have, but internally we have. Right? All of us have. Some people have too much, some people have less. Nobody is 100% clear of all these things. To relate with the Supreme Personality of Godhead personally, if you have to relate with Krishna, if you have to relate with Vishnu, then you must have 100% purity. Completely free from all these so-called kleshas. Kleshas are influenced by the modes of passion, modes of ignorance. Envy, greed, lust, anger, all these kind of things. You should be completely free from it. That is when you can express yourself completely freely, totally. What is there in your mind and what you are talking, what you are speaking, there is no any contradictions. In the material world, what you say and what you feel inside, there is a contradiction. Contradiction depends on the contaminations that you have. If you have more contaminations, total contradiction. From what you are inside to what you are outside, total contradiction. So when there is total contradiction, what happens? What is the problem with that? When there is total contradiction, you become very, very, very weak. You become extremely weak. Just like, for example, consider it like you want water to flow in this direction. You want water to flow in this direction. And you are pumping water to flow in this direction. So there is a pump which pushes the water in X direction. But there is another pump in the Y direction. That Y direction is pulling the water towards Y direction. Water, your desire is to make the water flow in X direction, but there is another pump which tries to drag the water to Y direction. So what will happen? When two opposite acting forces are there, the water will not flow at all. If there is equal force, right? So if, say, imagine the pump, there is a half HP pump and there is an half HP pump. So then half HP pump, both will become neutralized, water will not flow, it will just stand. What happens in our case is, we have half HP pump and we have 1/3 pump. So water will flow, but it will flow very slowly. Right? Like, for example, when we design, why is aeroplane able to travel at 900,000 kilometers per hour. Whereas a bike or a vehicle on the land is not able to move so fast. Because when it moves on the ground, there is a force. There is a negative force, which is gravity. Right? So when the wheel is touching the ground, there is a deceleration that creates. So the machine has to work much more, the engine has to work much more harder. Whereas in the air, there is no any deceleration because of the factors. In the air, it can freely move. So it moves faster. So similarly, our expression with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, when we have to reach that position, we will freely express. There is no any inside, outside, nothing. There is oneness. The spirit soul is completely acting. Here, there is a difference between spirit soul and matter. And the tussle is there. We want the spirit soul to act fully. But our material desires are telling spirit soul, no, you don't act fully. There is contradiction. So spirit soul relates only to that degree that it's allowed to talk. Whereas that is why we say Adhyatma, you're completely situated on a spiritual platform. So the Kumaras, they were impersonalist. But because of the association, they have become completely freed from all types of contaminations, and whatever feelings and emotions are there, everything is coming out totally, surrendering themselves towards the Supreme Personality of God. That is the power of devotional service. That is the power of bhakti. Bhakti pareshanubhavo viraktir anyatrasya. Srimad Bhagavatam is saying without any material contaminations. Not make-believe bhakti. People sometimes, Bhagavan, hey Krishna. Not like that. You cannot cheat Krishna. Bhaktya mam abhijanati yavan nischasmi tattvata. If you want to understand Krishna in tattvata, in completeness, then you should come to the platform of bhakti. Prabhupada here is using the word, he was therefore, but here it is confirmed that all the variegatedness of the absolute truth is situated of Shuddha Sattva, pure goodness. See, in Mayavadis, if you start crying, if you start laughing, these are emotions. Emotions are material. So crying, they will say, hey, you're crying. That means you are a material platform. Oh, you are laughing, you are smiling. That is how will Mayavadis behave? They will neither laugh, they will neither cry. They are always situated like this. So a devotee, when he cries, when he laughs, his purpose of that crying is the feeling towards Krishna. When he laughs, it is that feeling towards Krishna, uncontaminated by any material tinges. The same question was asked by Prakashananda Saraswati to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Varanasi. Prakashananda Saraswati was a great Mayavadi sannyasi. So Prakashananda Saraswati asked Mahaprabhu, what is this you are doing? Because he could make out that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is a very, very exalted sannyasi. Prabhupada says elsewhere, just by seeing a person's face, we can make out how much materially contaminated he is or how pure he is. You can make out whether lust is there in his face. Prabhupada says, In our Krishna consciousness movement, the devotees, by their sadhana, by chanting, their faces become lustrous. They develop a special halo around themselves, which makes them free from lust, greed, all these kind of material contaminations. So similarly, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as soon as Prakashananda Saraswati saw him, he recognized that Mahaprabhu is no ordinary sannyasi. He is a very elevated soul. So because Prakashananda Saraswati was a Mayavadi sannyasi, and in Mayavada, because in Kirtan, when we are doing Kirtan, we are jumping, we are screaming, all kinds of emotions are coming out, right? So Mayavadi says, Arey, these are like, like for example, when you go and dance in a discotheque, what happens? You will laugh, you will scream, you will jump. So Mayavadi says, this is exactly what materialists do. So Prakashananda Saraswati asked Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, what is this? You seem to be a very exalted sannyasi, but you are indulging like a very, very ordinary person. You are going around the streets, singing, dancing, showing emotions, all these kind of things. These are not spiritual, no? These are not very high-grade spiritualist. Is not supposed to be indulging in all these kind of things. You are a person of knowledge. You are a jnani. That we can make out very easily. And jnanis do not indulge in such kind of sentimental show. You are supposed to be sit and understand and tattva jignasaha. You should be interested in knowledge, not in sentimental display of all these kind of things. This was Prakashananda Saraswati's comments on Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Because Prakashananda Saraswati is coming from the Mayavadi school of thought, wherein emotions, feelings, these are all to be given up. These are all to be sacrificed. Whereas in Vaishnava understanding, in Krishna conscious understanding, our understanding is totally different. What is our understanding? Our understanding is that nothing needs to be given up. Everything has to be connected. In connection with Krishna, whether it is feelings, emotions, activities, variegatedness, falls in line with perfect spiritual practice. If it is fully connected with Krishna, anasaktasya vishayan yatarham upayunjate. Rupa Goswami defines what is Krishna consciousness. He says, anasaktasya vishayan yatarham upayunjate. Anasaktihi. Let me just, in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, this thing is mentioned, and I'll read exactly the translation of that. So this, because Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu is the source manual of our Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya. How an individual should practice Krishna consciousness, this is the source book. The day-to-day instructions for all of us, how we should conduct ourselves in Krishna consciousness, the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu is the source book, the nectar of devotion, how we must practice devotional life. And this is the key verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, which says, Anasaktasya vishayan yataram upayanjate anukulyena krishnanushīlanam bhakti yuktama. What does it say? Krishna is saying anukulyasya krishnanushīlanam. So Prabhupada is giving here the example with respect to this, that anasaktasya, that means material possessions can be accepted as far as they can be used in Krishna's service. Anything, material, spiritual, it doesn't matter. As long as it can be used in Krishna's service, it is perfect. There is nothing called material, spiritual. Anything that can be used in Krishna's service, it is free to be done. The overriding principle of Krishna consciousness is what? What is overriding principle? Overriding principle is whatever object is there, that object has to be used for Krishna's service. That is the overriding principle. And Prabhupada at one place says, like for example, sex. Spiritually, sex is to be completely given up. For our spiritual growth, we cannot indulge in sex. Because sex desire means what? Complete Ishvara Bhava. You want to experience the pleasure of sex like you are the controller of your body. You are the controller of your pleasure. Prabhupada says, sex also can be engaged in the service of the Lord. And that very clearly Krishna himself says, Dharma viruddho kamosmi bharatarshava. Prabhupada saying, we need grahasthas. We need family men. Not for simply indulging in sex, but to procreate and bring about Krishna conscious children. To increase the population of Krishna conscious children. For that we need grahasthas. But now, marriage, sex, girlfriend, boyfriend, all these things, only purpose is to enjoy sex. That is demoniac. Where the purpose is our personal enjoyment. Whereas a Krishna conscious perspective is, everything is for Krishna's enjoyment, not for my personal enjoyment. And Prabhupada here in this place says, he gives the example of this Anukulya Krishnanushīlanam, the perfect example from the Bhagavatam. Prabhupada is quoting this principle of Anukulya Krishnanushīlanam. The perfect example of that is Ambarish Maharaj. Wherein Ambarish Maharaj, everything in his life was centered around how I can satisfy Krishna. That is the process. And to come to this Krishna Anushīlanam, how do we develop that skill to become Krishna, to develop that quality of serving Krishna only? Prabhupada quotes in the this verse, he says, Anya bilashita shunyam jnana karma anavratam anukulyena Krishna anushīlanam bhaktiruttama. Prabhupada is saying, Anya bilashita, as long as you have Anya abhilashaha, you cannot serve Krishna. You have to become Anya bilashita shunyam. Shunyam means zero. This Anya abhilasha, you should make it zero. Any other different kind of this one. Then you can do Krishna anukulyena. Then you can become anukulyena Krishna anushīlanam. Then you become situated in a positive way in which you can experience, you can practice Krishna's service. How we can become Anyabhilashita? See, you work backwards. Krishna consciousness is so logical, scientific, rational. We take the principle, then we break it down into smaller parts. It's so easy and so rational, so logical it is. How you can become Anyabhilashita Shunya? Sanketana prayer yajanti hi sumedasha. By chanting Krishna's name, we become Anyabhilashita Shunya. By regulated practice of Krishna consciousness, we become Anyabhilashita Shunya. By nicely chanting Krishna's name, by nicely doing Shravana, by nicely hearing Krishna Katha, Shanmatam Swakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtanaha. We are not able to become Krishna conscious. Why? Why we are not able to become Anyabhilashita Shunya? Because we have so many Ridantastoyi Abhadrani. Because we have so many contaminations within our heart. How we can overcome that contaminations? Shanmatam Swakata Krishna. Hear Krishna's Katha. You cannot become, you will become, if you don't read Srila Prabhupada's books daily, if you don't hear Krishna Katha, your chanting will become very bad. All interconnected. So all a big interconnection. Just like this body. In this body there are different organs. The main organ is what? The heart and the brain. These are the two main organs. Now if you say heart and the brain, heart and the brain, heart and the brain, no, it doesn't work. The kidney also need to work. The pancreas also need to work. Your stomach also needs to work. Everything is very valuable. If your kidney goes, will your heart work? Will your brain work? It will not work. Forget kidney, yaar. Some small thing happens. Everything will go for a toss. One small virus comes and attacks. You are finished. 4 days no chanting. Why you are not doing chanting? Oh, fever came. Leg pain came. Headache came. Headache. Tell me how many of us will be able to chant if one bad headache comes. Will be able to chant? Oh, my head is aching like anything. Forget headache, yaar. If you didn't sleep properly. Prabhu, why you didn't come for chanting? Prabhu, I didn't sleep properly. See how much we are attached to this body. The pains and pleasures of this body are driving us. But elevated souls, by practice, by sadhana. Srila Prabhupada, just like today we read Jaladuta's diary in the morning. Prabhupada had 2 heart attacks. 70 years of age. Actually, by practice we can come to that platform. No matter what, with Tivrena Bhakti Yogena Yajeta Purusham Param. If you rigidly practice Krishna consciousness, then you can be situated on the highest platform of devotional service. This is the verdict of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Not simply succumb. Small thing. Like for example, we are seeing Krishna consciousness, when we are practicing Krishna consciousness, everything is going on nicely. Little material lust. One beautiful girl comes, all our Krishna consciousness are tus. Little name fame comes. People are telling, oh, what a nice class, Prabhuji, beautiful class. बहुत अच्छा कीर्तन किया आपने, क्या कीर्तन किया आपने. Gone, we are हो गए. Oh, she is glorifying me. Oh, what a big collector you are, Prabhu. आपके चेहरे से इतना तेजस आ रहा है. We are finished there. We forget why I am doing this, what I am doing this. You see, So much, so easily we succumb to this. Because why we are like that? Because we are very having our Krishna consciousness is in very, very nascent stage. Komala Shraddha. We have to become mature. How we can become mature? By repeatedly hearing Krishna's name, fame and glories. When we give our, Prabhupada quotes this, what is that verse? Bhilai Bator Urukrama. When you hear the Katha, what is that verse? It's a beautiful verse of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Urukramang, like if we are not hearing Krishna Katha, if we are not able to relish Krishna Katha, then our ears should be considered as what? Prabhupada quotes this beautiful verse from the second canto. Prabhupada says, Bile bato ruhrukrama vikramanye nashrinvatam karna pute narasya jivaha sati dhardurikeva suta nachopagayati urugaya gataha. One who has not listened to the messages about the prowess and marvelous acts of the personality of Godhead and has not sung or chanted loudly the worthy songs about the Lord is to be considered to possess ear holes like the holes of snakes and a tongue like the tongue of a frog. Sri Bhagavatam is saying, you are possessing ears like the ears of a snake. Snake doesn't have ears. The snake, but they will have a shape like that, like as though there are two ears. Snake doesn't have ears. How does snake understand things? Maximum by smell. So just by having ears, if that ears are not used for hearing Krishna Katha, then it's saying Karna Pute Narasya Jivha Sati Dhardurik Eva Suta. Similarly, if we don't eat Krishna's prasadam, food that is offered to Krishna, then what should be saying? Dhardurik Eva Sutaha. Just like Dhardurikava means like frogs. Frogs also have tongue. What is the tongue used for? For eating insects. So Prabhupada is saying, all those people who eat insects, they have the tongue of the frogs. Maybe in their past janma they were frogs. So they have that same habit. Somehow they have come to the human form. But at least if they have got the human form, if they cultivate Krishna consciousness, next life they won't become a frog. But if they continue to eat only insects and all those kind of things, next time also, chalo, you like so much frog, I'll put you back to frog life. So we must become serious Krishna conscious practitioners. So the Kumaras, they are openly, with all their feelings, everything is coming out and they are praising the Lord. That they are saying that this is possible. We are able to do this only because we have become completely surrendered to you. Otherwise, it's not possible. It's not at all possible. Prabhupada in the purport saying, but in the transcendental world, only pure goodness without any tinge of passion or ignorance exists. Therefore, the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his variegated pastimes and paraphernalia are all pure sattva. Such variegatedness in pure goodness is exhibited externally, eternally by the Lord for the satisfaction of the devotee. The devotee does not want to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead in Supreme Personality of Absolute Truth in voidness or impersonalism. So we want to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead not as a silent person. We want Krishna to be playing, to be laughing, to be jumping, to be killing. Everything is wonderful for us. Kilakrit, what is that? We want to see Krishna like this. Kritavan kila karmani saramena keshava atimartyani bhagavan gudha kapata manushaha. This is the way we want to see Krishna. Krishna's various activities, along with his connoisseur, along with his partner, Rama. Rama means Radharani. We want to see the pastimes of Krishna, various activities, along with his Saki, because they bring total joy. Gudha Kapata Manusha. And all these leelas with these consorts, Krishna is enacting just like a beautiful actor. Kapata Manusha. Okay, so these are wonderful. Atimartyani Bhagavan Gudha Kapata Manusha. Lord Shri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, along with Balarama played. It's not Rama means here. Prabhupada is saying it's referring to Balarama, played like a human being, and so vast he performed many superhuman acts. See, Krishna is so adorable. Why he is adorable? Because he is full of activities. He is not a silent God. Krishna, why he is active? Because he is full of activities. So Mayavadi means what? No activities. So boring. So uninteresting, right? We want full of action. Right? In the material world, they want Amitabh action, they want Shah Rukh Khan action, which is only a pretense. In reality, Shah Rukh Khan, all it took was one small fellow will come and threaten Shah Rukh Khan, means he'll sit in his house like a fearful person, right? But Krishna is not like that. We'll stop here. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki.